Imagine standing in a field, shoulder to shoulder with strangers, your shoes caked in mud from a relentless autumn rain. The sky above is heavy, grey and unyielding, and yet something electric crackles in the air. People murmur, some in prayer, others skeptical, but all gaze upward in anticipation. Suddenly, the clouds begin to break, and what unfolds defies reason, shattering doubt and igniting hope in thousands of hearts. This is the miracle of the sun, a moment when heaven touched earth in Fatima, Portugal, and the world was never quite the same. The story begins months earlier, in 1917, in the humble village of Fatima. 3 shepherd children, Lucia dos Santos and her cousins, Francisco and Jacinta Marto, tended their sheep under the wide Portuguese sky. It was on these ordinary days that something extraordinary began. The children claimed that the Virgin Mary appeared to them, bringing messages of peace, repentance, and prayer. Understandably, their claims met skepticism. Why would heaven choose 3 simple, uneducated children for such a message? Their families struggled with disbelief and fear. Local authorities scoffed, dismissing the children's tales as childish fancy, or worse, a dangerous deception. Yet the children were steadfast. Through ridicule and interrogation, they held on to their story. And Mary, according to Lucia, promised that on October 13th, she would perform a miracle so that all would believe. Word spread like wildfire. By the time the promised day arrived, a crowd of more than 70,000 people had descended on Fatima. They came from all walks of life, peasants and farmers, teachers and students, devout believers and hardened skeptics. Journalists came with notebooks, government officials with folded arms, and ordinary people with hearts full of questions. The weather was miserable. Rain poured down, turning fields into swamps, yet no one left. Hope and curiosity drew them on. At noon, Lucia called out, urging people to look at the sky. All eyes turned upward, and what happened next has been recounted by witnesses with awe and terror, wonder and humility. The rain ceased abruptly. Clouds parted with unnatural swiftness, and the sun appeared as a shining disk. But this was no ordinary sun. It began to spin, twirling like a wheel of fire, casting brilliant rays of colour across the sky. Yellow, blue, purple, red. The crowd gasped as the sun appeared to leap and zigzag, plunging toward the earth, then retreating to its place in the sky. People cried out, some in joy, some in fear. Many fell to their knees, convinced the end of the world was at hand. Others wept, overwhelmed by the spectacle. Skeptics who had come to mock found themselves speechless, their doubts shattered by the impossible. And then, as suddenly as it began, the sun returned to its normal state. The people looked around in stunned disbelief. The muddy field, soaked only minutes before, was now dry. Their clothes, drenched by hours of rain, were inexplicably clean. It was a day that would be remembered for generations, a day when heaven shook the world. What makes the miracle of the sun so remarkable is not just the spectacle itself, but its impact. Rarely in history has a miraculous event been witnessed by so many, from all walks of life, with such consistency in their testimonies. Journalists who had come to debunk the children's claims instead wrote headlines of astonishment. Newspapers across Portugal, even in its most skeptical corners, ran stories acknowledging that something inexplicable had taken place. This was a time of profound turmoil. World War I raged across Europe, bringing unspeakable suffering and death. The world was fractured, nations torn apart, faith shaken. Yet in the midst of this darkness, Fatima offered a ray of hope. The miracle was not just an answer to the children's prayers, but a message for all humanity, that even in the bleakest times, light is stronger than darkness, and heaven has not abandoned the earth. The miracle of the sun also speaks to the nature of faith itself. Consider the courage of those who stood in that field. Many had no reason to believe. Some came to laugh at the children, others to prove their own skepticism. Yet, by showing up, they placed themselves in the path of a miracle. Faith is often like that, a step into the unknown, a willingness to be vulnerable, to risk being misunderstood or ridiculed. It's not about certainty, it's about trust. And sometimes that trust is rewarded in ways that defy all expectation. The story of Fatima invites each of us to reflect. If you had been there, would you have believed the children? Would you have braved the rain and mud, ignoring the laughter of skeptics and the doubts of your own heart? It's easy to say yes in hindsight, but faith is rarely comfortable or convenient. It requires us to show up, to risk disappointment, to choose hope over cynicism. Yet those who did witness the miracle of the sun were forever changed. Their lives became a testament to the power of faith, the reality of the divine, and the enduring hope that sustains humanity through its darkest hours. Fatima reminds us that miracles are not reserved for the saints or the privileged, but are offered to all who are willing to believe, to hope, to show up. Today, the message of Fatima remains as urgent and relevant as ever. We are each called to respond to the invitation, whether it's a muddy field in Portugal or the messy, uncertain places in our own lives. Where is God asking you to step out in faith? Where is He asking you to trust, even when it seems foolish or difficult? The miracle of the sun is a promise. When you choose faith, when you dare to hope, heaven can break through in ways you never imagined. So let this story be a spark. Share it with someone who needs encouragement. Remember the words of Our Lady of Fatima. Do not be afraid. My immaculate heart will be your refuge and the way that will lead you to God. Faith begins with showing up, with being present, open, and willing to see beyond the ordinary. Because when heaven moves, everything changes. Dare to believe. Step into your own field of faith. The miracle you seek may not appear in the sky, but in the quiet transformation of your heart. And in that moment, you'll know. The same God who shook the world at Fatima is still at work, offering hope, healing, and light to all who seek Him.